In Canada, you can vote in a federal election without showing any identification. Under Elections Canada's rules, voters can simply declare their identity and address in writing and have someone vouch for them without presenting a single piece of ID. This vouching system requires only that the voucher prove their own identity. In other words, as long as you have a complicit Canadian, the door is wide open for election interference. This loophole could not only let citizens game the system by voting multiple times, it could let literally anyone who shows up to our elections cast a ballot. And with around 4 million immigrants arriving since the last federal election and verifiable evidence that China, Russia, India, and Iran interfered in our last 2 elections, I would suggest the integrity of our democracy is in a rather vulnerable position. Now, why is this particularly alarming right now? Because media reports are already predicting a snap election following Mark Carney's victory as Liberal leader. Of course, if you're the Liberal Party, this makes sense. Pierre Poilievre's popularity has been fluctuating as they relentlessly frame him as Canada's Donald Trump, attacking his populist appeal to rally voters against his perceived extremism. It's kind of insane, but they control the media, so it's effective. Combine that with Carney's honeymoon period and lack of public knowledge about his radical green agenda, conflicts of interest, and repeated interactions with the Epstein group, and you have a perfect environment to call an election. Not to mention, the longer they wait, the worse things will get in Canada. This includes rising debt, housing costs, job losses, and inflation. And for good reason, the Liberals will be left holding the bag. Now, objectively speaking, given their history, the Liberals are more likely to exploit this loophole. We know they leveraged foreign interference in the 2019 and 2021 federal elections. They're also the ones who allowed 4 million immigrants into the country since the last election, and they're the ones struggling in the polls. Not to mention, this isn't the first time this loophole has been exploited. Double voting charges were laid after the 2015 election. The 2024 BC election is under scrutiny for election tampering, and the Ontario provincial election just featured a YouTuber by the name MCGA registering at 13 different local election offices to vote using falsified documents. It's worth noting that he stopped right before actually voting, but these examples not only expose the system's fragility, they prove that people are willing to break the rules and that it's very easy to do so. And now, with a massive surge in immigration and the deeply polarized political world we live in, the gaps in our voting process pose an even greater risk, making election interference more likely than ever. Now, if we're being totally honest, this isn't just a Liberal issue. Any party driven by desperation can manipulate this flawed system. Canada's voter ID rules make it easy to lie, cheat, or interfere in our federal elections. And I racked my brain looking for the most charitable reason for this loophole, but there's really only one answer. It exists to manipulate elections. Now, I would like to say that we can't wait to fix this and that strict ID requirements, mandatory citizenship verification, and independent audits are essential. Unfortunately, with an election looming and the government prorogued, all I can do is highlight the problem so Canadians can be aware of the mess that we're actually in.